Hi, everyone. You are listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. This is Melanie Headley. I'm sitting here with Thérèse Hakoun, the executive director of ToLabor, a training and certifying organization of doulas internationally. Hi.
Hey, Melanie, how are you?
I'm good. Look at us. Here we are again.
Another week.
We're doing it.
Yay! I know. I hope everybody is as happy as we are about that. But it's good to. I miss doing these.
I know, me too.
Yeah, and I know people like to hear them, and just always want to say again, so I'm going to step on anything you were going to say, that...
Shocker.
Oh, shh. It's amazing at births how quiet I am. People would... I remember Happy, who I was married to, saying that, like, I just would love to be a fly on the wall and see you quiet. I think he was trying to tell me something. Anyway, we are open to people's ideas of what they want to talk about. If you want to send an email to ToRAISEQuestions@gmail.com.
We love getting those.
Yes. And we also, and so do the listeners, really love case studies. So if you have had a birth that you want to talk about, that you just want to go over what you did, what you didn't do, what you think, what we think, whatever the case might be, please send an email again to ToRAISEQuestions@gmail.com, and we can give you a call and record you. And just so you know, we'll keep you confidential as far as your name and your location. And we'd love that. And as I said, listeners really, really like that too. So please feel free to input here.
Yeah, we love hearing from you about anything, really. I think last week we talked about the spirit of a doula and maintaining the integrity, and we have already gotten just a flood of emails and stories, and thank you so much. We cannot wait to revisit that topic. So we really like just feeling like we're in your communities too. So thanks. Keep it up. And along those lines, we have a shout out today to Taylor Elwood from New Jersey. Taylor, your website's awesome. We
Beautiful.
both really enjoyed looking through that. You can find her at Taylor Elwood, ELWOOD.com. Taylor, thank you so much for your donation.
We really appreciate it. Very much so.
And so you guys can also donate too. We would love that.
Yeah. And
where can they do that?
There are places on our website that will direct you to donate to the podcast,
which is ToLabor.com.
Yes. And it's pretty simple. There's a donate button, and it will just walk you through a very simple process. So if you feel compelled, you're liking this, we'd appreciate any support.
And if you do, please let us know if you have a website or a business that we can shout out for you.
Yes.
And we love just seeing what you all are doing. It's great.
So thank you, everyone.
And so what are we talking about today?
Well, we have a case study.
Yay!
Yeah, so we're going to be on the phone with somebody in a moment to discuss a situation she found herself in, and we're looking forward to seeing what she has to say and what input, Melanie, you have for her.
Oh, boy.
I'm just going to be the fly on the wall.
Okay. All right, everyone, stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Episode 72, Main Body. Well, we are so pleased that we have Marie here from Florida talking with us on the phone for a case study. Marie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, we're really pleased that you sent us your story and wanted to discuss it with us on the podcast. As I was telling you when we were communicating, I feel like this is a story that, it just really seemed really important to me for this to be out there to doulas all over, because they may have already been in a situation like this, or they very easily can be in it in the future or something similar. And it's just, I think it's very thought-provoking for them to consider, how would I deal with this particular circumstance? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Marie, give us a little background about yourself. How long have you been a doula?
I'm a brand new doula, and
Yay!
this is my first client that I took on.
Wow.
I took the training with To Labor, and I got kind of obsessed with birth when I got pregnant with my first son. And I started with an OB, and then I switched to the midwives, and I really loved it. I just loved learning about it and the whole process, and I loved giving birth and breastfeeding and parenting, and and then I decided to stop having babies after 2.
How old are how old are your kids?
Oh, they're 7 and 5, 2 little boys.
Nice.
And I realized I was like, okay, no more kids. And then I was still buying birth books. I was like, I guess that's interesting. All right. And I was like, ooh, a new anime just came out. I'm going to go buy that. So then I kind of got to a point where it was just, I couldn't stand not doing the doula training anymore. So I decided to take the training and get started as a professional doula.
Excellent.
Good for you.
And
welcome.
You also are a yoga instructor, is that correct?
Yeah, I teach prenatal and postpartum yoga.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
And so you're already doing birth work. Besides, if you get to be going to births, to be a prenatal yoga or postpartum yoga instructor is one of the, what I think about it is yoga instructors probably spend more time with pregnant women than any of the other professions. If they're coming once a week through many months of their pregnancy, you're seeing them more frequently than the doula does, than their OB or midwife does I just think that's wonderful. So you were already doing birth work.
Yeah. So it's great. It just merged the two things together, and it's been really positive so far.
Great.
Good.
Well, we want to hear your story, if that's okay. And, if you can just start us at the beginning.
Well, I'd like to know how you got your first client.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
She actually emailed me, and she was emailing about the yoga.
Okay.
Because she was 24 weeks along, and she had some stress in her life. She had lost her job because she was pregnant, and she and her husband had immigrated here only 18 months before, and first baby, and she had some health problems before becoming pregnant. So she just had a lot kind of on her plate, and she was looking for a way to deal with the stress and manage the stress. So then she started coming to yoga, and she was coming consistently for about 6 weeks. And we had just a great relationship. She was a wonderful lady. We had really good conversations. We got along well just on a personal level,
Mm-hmm.
And it was all good. And then she didn't show up to class one week, and I got an email from her a couple days later, and she had been in the hospital with preterm labor. So it was just one of those things that everything was kind of coming together, and it seemed like she couldn't catch a break. So that's when I told her, I was like, I'm a doula, and if you're interested, we can talk about me supporting you, no pressure, anything like that. But she and her husband talked about, and they were thrilled with the idea. They were very thankful. They kept saying over and over, we're so thankful, we're so thankful. So then we got together and had our first prenatal visit, and everything was awesome. I don't know. It was good. They were happy, and they're receptive to things we were talking about. We did a birth plan game where we went through different interventions and just scenarios and stuff, and kind of helped them to build their birth plan.
That's great.
And they took a picture of kind of the end result of the birth plan, and I said, okay, yeah, you can show that to your doctor, or you can take it and rewrite it. And frame it in a maybe more positive way, because it was a really very crude birth plan. It was very, there's nothing, I don't know.
Polished about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing polished. It wasn't finished or anything like that. So they were excited about that, and I was like, if you want, you can let your doctor know that you're the doula, and I don't know, stuff like that. And so they were very excited.
And they understood the role that you would play in the
yes,
birth.
I went over that with her. So she was about 32 weeks, and we had a lot of conversations in between for them signing the contract and having the first prenatal visit, and from when I told her I was a doula, which I had told her before, but I hadn't offered, and I kind of wonder if I shouldn't have offered, if that was like a no-no on my part, but
I don't know.
Like, she didn't have any family around. She doesn't have. She's not tapped into the community at all. So I felt
if you
like I could help, and I should have. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you were already giving her some support even as a prenatal yoga instructor. And so I think it kind of started to transition. Yeah.
I think also if you said it to her the way you said it to us just now, that, I'm a doula, I'd be happy to support you, no pressure. I mean, that's an entirely different thing than saying, hey, I can be your doula, or I want to be your doula, or how about this? I'll just come help you at your birth. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
You have to let...
You didn't invite yourself in.
Right. We have to put it... we have to put it out there so that people know that it's available. It's just how you don't solicit in the direct way of, hey, I'm coming to your birth. So I think you did the right thing. And obviously they felt, they were so thankful. They're so thankful. They're so thankful. So let that one go out of your mind. Like that was, you did a good job at offering your services.
Okay, well, good. So the first prenatal it was fine. I had a great time. I was like, well, this is a great job.
And you had a contract, right? You said?
Yeah, we had a contract, and
That's
they signed
good.
the contract, and I made sure we went over all the terms of the contract, and so that they understood my role and my limitations, and also things that were their responsibility. And so then she had a doctor's appointment in between the first prenatal and the second prenatal. And so then I show up for the second prenatal, and I had emailed her in between, but I hadn't heard anything. Back. So I went to the second prenatal as planned, and we got started, and I just was starting, as I would have. And then she said, oh, well, we told our doctor that we're having a doula, and he said, oh, I don't like doulas. They just say no, no, no to everything, and they cause problems, and they get in the way.
How lovely.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
And I immediately
that's what I normally do.
Yeah. Oh, this is not so great.
Yeah, Melanie's going, yeah, that's what she does.
No, no,
no.
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 Yeah.
No. And let me get in your way.
That was totally what the training was, right? Yeah. So before I could even respond to that, they then started to tell me that they may not need me to come because they're going to arrange for her mother and her sister to come for the birth. So their plan was to call when she was in labor, to call the family, and they would get on a plane and fly in, a 6-hour flight, and make it for the birth.
Wow.
Those two things kind of came out at the same time. So I didn't really address one thing or the other. I just kind of listened, and I was trying to take it all in. And then they said, so if her mom and her sister comes, we won't need you there. And then I said, oh, well, as a doula, I don't count as a person in the room. Because, I remember, I'm forgetting a crucial part of the story. She had called, the mama had called labor and delivery, and she told them, I have a doula, but my doctor doesn't want the doula there, so can I have a doula? And a nurse at labor and delivery said, well, just have her come as a friend. So then they wanted me, they told me, when they were telling me all this, they said, well, you can come as a friend, so that the doctor won't be upset. And so we may not need you to come because her mom and her sister might be coming. And then I said, well, I can come because I'm a doula. Doulas don't count as people in the room. And I said, oh, but you'd be the friend, remember? And so there was just kind of that, it just felt a little
ouch,
awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, so I continued on with the visit, with the second prenatal visit, and I just went over everything that I would have gone over anyway.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So I totally get the awkwardness of that and trying to absorb what was being said to you, and now what do I do and what is your role? So I'm assuming from that you didn't agree that, okay, I'll be your friend, but you didn't not agree that you wouldn't be her friend. Is that right?
Right. I didn't give her an answer one way or another. I kind of more focused on her family coming in. And because they were unsure if the sister would be able to come because her sister had to work and also had small children. So that part was up in the air. So I kind of just was going with that, like, okay, well, if your sister doesn't make it, then this is what I would do if I'm at the birth. And that's just kind of how I framed the rest of the visit. But they seemed, I mean, they're still, kind to me and they're nice people, but they seemed a little less enthusiastic than how they had started, and a little less receptive to some things that I was saying. There was a different atmosphere.
Right.
And I'm sure your mind must have been kind of, I'm imagining myself how I can get easily distracted then from what I want to be talking about, because I'm also trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, how is this going to work? And what am I going to do?
You're trying to process that information.
Yes. Yeah, I felt a little bit distracted. No, I also felt like maybe I just shouldn't be there. Like, should I go? Should we continue doing this? But they didn't tell me no, so I just kind of kept going. I definitely felt I was awkward. So then we leave, and I said, okay, well, next time I see you, it'll either be at the birth or you'll be a mama, and take care. And they were, again, very grateful, they said. And so I got home, but I just felt terrible. And then I realized I hadn't told her one way or another about coming as the friend, because that really bothered me a lot.
Right. So it was.
And I didn't want to misrepresent myself to the staff, but I also didn't want to cause more problems for her. So then I was just kind of, very confused for a while. And I thought it all out, and I used the brain, the benefits and risks and alternatives, my intuition.
Good job.
And what happens if I do nothing. And I decided.
And did that help? Did that help you using that?
Oh, yes, it did.
Good. Good.
Very helpful.
Because I always say when I give that out at the workshops that this is a life question also. It can be used for us in our daily life, not just in birth. So I'm glad to hear that it was useful. Yeah,
and I actually just told a friend. A friend was looking for advice, and I was like, do this. Works for me.
Good.
So I also checked with my husband to see what he was thinking about it all, because I really, I value his opinion.
And what was your husband's opinion in this? Because it is, that is your immediate person in your life that you can talk business with, I'm sure. So what was his input? He
and I both kind of landed at the same answer, that I am a doula and I'm a professional, and I shouldn't have to be sneaking around in a labor room.
Right.
And we also pointed out how it's going to backfire. You can't hide your profession, especially, like, people just will know. It'll be pretty obvious. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I'm lying to this doctor, just to, it was not a good situation. But he also had said, if they had been paying, so this is where it comes back around to the beginning where I didn't require them to pay or anything. He said if they were paying for the service, that they would be having me at the birth probably, that they'd be more willing to, tell their doctor, well, we already paid and she's going to come. And even then that would have taken out the family side of things, that I would be there as a professional and not as a friend.
Right. And, we just had a discussion about this in another podcast about the pain and stuff. And so it may very well have created more of a credibility with them, not credibility, but, a stronger contract. But it may, we don't know if it would have, but it is something to consider. I think we would hope that the contract itself was enough to get somebody to realize this is serious. And I just want to say, I think it's awesome, Marie, that you had a contract for your first birth that was free as well. It's something I just want to point out to people who are listening who don't have contracts. It is not a good idea to go to a birth without a contract. And again, whether it's your first birth, whether you're being paid for it or not, and yes, situations can happen, but nonetheless, you still want to have a contract. So anyway, Yeah,
I felt it was helpful for me to officially explain to them what all, what I would be doing in general.
Right.
And so I ended up emailing her. I chose to email her instead of call her because English is her second language.
Mm-hmm.
And we had quite a few conversations. And she has told me repeatedly that she does much better when she reads things. I decided to email her. Oh, I'm sorry.
I like that you are giving that explanation because I think that's very valid and valuable explanation. But I can't help but think you're also saying it because you know that I have issues with people email.
I have heard you say that before. And I was like, I better tell Thérèse that.
But you owe me no explanation except that yours definitely makes a lot of sense with
absolutely
what you're saying, which to me says you were again showing excellent communication and support to this woman, to this family. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I emailed her and I told her that I was thinking about it and I was not comfortable misrepresenting myself to the hospital staff and to whichever doctor would be on call that day. And that if I came, I would have to come as the doula, and that I was happy to go on call for her, whether her family was able to make it or not, but I would still be there if she needed me, but it couldn't be, as a friend. I couldn't, lie about it.
Right.
But I didn't say lie. I said misrepresent because I didn't want to use, inflammatory language. So I sent that email. And
can I ask you another question? Do you know if the hospital that you were working with had any sort of policy on doulas, or was it just a specific doctor?
I don't know for sure. I was under the impression that doulas are welcome.
Okay.
Because I've heard from other doulas around town that they've attended births there and it was no problem. And so I think it's mostly just that it seems like the doctor told her no to doulas, and she was not comfortable doing anything against what the doctor was saying. And that was something that I had noticed in our prenatal visits too, even about different interventions and stuff. If the doctor said it was okay, she was going to do it.
Okay. And I think it's unfortunate that the labor and delivery nurse that she spoke to gave her just have her come as a friend instead of saying, it's really okay. Doulas are welcome. We'll work with your doula. That's not a problem. If that would have been so much more reassuring to this woman, I think, even though she still would have had the conflict to figure out with her care provider, she would have at least known that the hospital itself had supported because it almost sounded like the nurse was saying, yeah, well, we don't really want doulas here. Just say it's a friend.
Right.
And we'll treat them like a friend also.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got an email back from her, and she was not super thrilled with me saying that I would be the doula and not the friend. And she said in her email, and I know she's been through a lot, and she said in her email that she's had so much stress, she wants only happy faces in the birth room, and she just wanted a very positive birth. And I think she was thinking that if I showed up as the doula and the doctor was there, her doctor was there, that there would be a problem, and that it would cause issues, I guess, with her doctor or with me, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I emailed her back, and I just went over like the role of the doula again, and how I personally felt it would be worse to lie. No, I didn't say lie, obviously. I said misrepresent. I said it would be worse to misrepresent myself. And then the doctor finds out that I've been lying about it.
Right.
I just felt that would be worse. That would be a worse situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, I was happy to be on call for her and just all that stuff. She was only a couple days away from my being on call for her at 38 weeks. And so she emailed me back and said, okay, she thought about it, and she had a doctor's appointment the next day, and she was going to tell the doctor that I would be coming and I would be her doula.
So she told you that in the email?
Yes.
Okay.
She said, you'll be my doula, and I'm going to tell the doctor, and she said she needed support, and she wanted my help, and she was very appreciative of everything that I'd done so far, and so then I was like, okay, well, I guess we worked it out, and, it wasn't comfortable, but it seems like it's going to be okay. So then I sent her a text message 2 days later, so she had her appointment, and then the next day I was on call for her, so I just said, hey, checking in to see how your appointment went, and today I'm officially on call for you, so feel free to stay in contact with me if you want, or if you just want to kind of do life, you can contact me as needed, call, email, text, whatever works. And then I didn't hear anything. And so I just kind of assumed maybe she just needed a break after, there's a fair bit of stress for her, and she's already been through a lot. So I gave her some space, and I didn't contact her for a week.
And no word from her during that time?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope, didn't hear anything. And so then I texted her at 39 weeks, so exactly 1 week later. And her husband replied, because I texted her and her husband both, and he replied, I don't know this number. So then I called, and I was like, it's, the doula, I'm just checking in, seeing how it's all going. And he it just seemed very strange. Like he wasn't answering me. He wasn't speaking like in full sentences. He seemed distracted and a little bit confused. And then he said, did you get a text message from my wife? And I said, no, I haven't heard from her in over a week. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, well, my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law are here. And I was like, okay, well, do you want me to be on call still? And he didn't say, it was like he couldn't say yes or no for some reason. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, do you want me to come to the birth? And I was like, I'm just going to say the thing. Like, do you want me to come to the birth?
Be direct.
Like, just say it. And he was like, no, that's okay. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll still, we still have a contract, so if you want, I'll do the postpartum visit. Just give me a call or text me whenever the baby's born, and, we'll do our postpartum. And so then a few days later, I got an email, and she had the baby. And the funny thing was, she had the baby before when I had the phone call with the
Oh.
So she already had the baby, but I guess they just
never called you.
She never called me for it, So I just went to the postpartum like nothing had happened, Just gave her support that she needed and answered questions and pointed her in a few different directions as needed. And I just kind of let it go. I wasn't going to bring it up or talk about it or anything like that. So yeah.
And did they say to you, we're sorry we didn't call you, or
no.
or
it was like there was no acknowledgement of it.
Oh, how awkward.
It was
my
very strange,
goodness,
yeah.
Marie. Yeah. But
and so I think a lot of this goes into, this is just my takeaway from it. It seemed like a lot of it went into their attitude of anything the doctor said,
right,
they were going with it.
Right.
And so then I'm thinking, moving forward, how can I work with couples who have that mentality if it ends up being like, well, I don't like doulas, like if this was to happen again, I don't know how to work with it now, because I feel like it blew up in my face a little bit.
Sure. Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
Melanie.
I want to say how just you handled the situation with such grace.
Especially, I totally agree. And going to the postpartum and everything, following through, speaks so highly of the integrity of your work, that here you did something out of, a professionalism, free. You had this bizarre kind of awkward, unprofessional situation occur. You come to a place where you go, okay, but I am a doula, so I am going to say I'm a doula. You let them know. You don't get called to the birth, but you handle it, and you then go and do the postpartum with them. Way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I want the people who are listening to really appreciate how hard that is to do, and how right it was of you to do what you did. I mean, you could have said, you didn't follow through with your contract. I'm not following through with my end of the deal. And that in the end would have been probably okay.
But it also speaks volumes that you were invited into their space after they had the baby. And it really...
That's right.
It says to me that they really wanted you at the birth, and that this doctor, what you're saying, his whole mentality of not wanting a doula and their kind of construct around medical providers of doing what they say is right, if they had any sort of problem with you personally, then you wouldn't have been brought into the home after the baby was born.
Absolutely. They were intimidated, but not by you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate. And so do you know how the birth went?
She was able to labor at home for a good long time. Her mom and her sister made it. And she ended up with pretty much the birth she wanted. She did have an epidural, which she wasn't planning, but she didn't have any interventions beyond that. And I know she had not wanted a lot of interventions. So it went really well.
Well, that's great. And, you did a lot of prep work with them.
You did.
And so, that the birth that she had, even though you weren't physically there, you really did a lot of work with them to get that birth. So I think you should be really proud of yourself.
Oh, thank you.
And also, do you know if the doctor was actually the one that was there?
Good question.
Their doctor was there until I think she said about 6 or 7, and then he went off call, and another doctor came in for the birth of the baby.
Mm-hmm. So you would have encountered that care provider,
yes.
But probably we know that the doctor probably was not there hardly at all, and that this is something that families also have to know, is that doctors aren't there most of the time during the labor.
Yeah.
So the doula, they would be oblivious to the fact that there was even a doula present. And the fact is, they would just assume you were probably a friend in the room if they saw you, not a doula, unless you introduce yourself as such, which you have every right to do. But they would, there it is. That would be the end Did you bring up the contract at all to them when they were questioning you being there?
I didn't. No.
Yeah.
I didn't want to turn it into like a battle.
I get it.
know?
I get it. And
Yeah.
I understand that. So it's not a criticism. It's a question. And it's also something just to ponder, though, in the future for yourself and for others, that when we give a contract, we want maybe to communicate about the importance of, again, even if it's paid, but also specifically if you're going to do some more free or lower paid births, that you just want to say, this contract is really important. I want us to take it seriously, whatever your words are, that we're making this commitment to each other. I'm giving you, what I'm doing is going on call for you. I'm not taking people during this period of time, just so people really get the contract aspect of it. Because I think you did an excellent job, as I said, of having a contract, and you probably, they read it, but it's us sometimes with people, they're not, that some people, and you'll know who those are, I think, are not really paying attention to what they're doing at that moment, and they kind of need to be made sure that they are aware that this is a contract. And it goes also back to your thing about the doctor is always right kind of idea with working with a client.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most difficult situations that anybody who's working in birth will have. And so I'd like to tell you, you've had it, and now you won't have it again.
You've had that.
Yeah, had that, not doing that again. And I think we've actually might have talked about this some in previous podcasts. It's a really difficult situation to be in, and Melanie can speak to this, but it's one of those things that, again, we can't make people see things they're not ready to see or wanting to see, but it is our job to point out that they have the right to say what they want and have a conversation and a dialogue with their care providers. I mean, we have to let them know that it's okay, that it's not just because the doctor is the doctor, the care provider is the care provider, doesn't mean they give away everything. And, maybe if because they were, as you said, they came from another country and English wasn't their first language, her first language. I mean, it could have been that much more intimidating. And then you have greater understanding of that. Okay, you're meeting the person where they are, but nonetheless, we still pointed out, which I think, given that you were going over interventions and you had conversations about all of these things, you were making that as clear as you possibly could. And they didn't have any interest in, I think you said, in changing care providers in any way, right?
Yeah, no. They had already changed at one point from one doctor to another, and they kept saying that this doctor is very open-minded. And so I was like, oh, that's good. You can tell me how to doula and write up a birth plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And
yeah, no.
and it's one of these things that I may sound contradictory to other things I've said in the past, but I don't really think, and people, you can give input to this, both of you, and other people as well. I'm not sure that it's important that the care provider, especially, and I specifically say an MD, the OB, knows that that the client has a doula. I mean, what do you think, Melanie?
I don't know about that, because I think that one of my goals for my clients are to know right from the, what am I trying to say?
Start.
Right from the start, that they are not going to have to battle for anything.
Well, in way,
labor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that during our appointments, just like you had with your appointments, questions came up. Like, here's the birth plan. Here's what, and so I feel like that's gonna
it kind of
tip them off, a little bit.
Well, I think nowadays, though, they know
Maybe.
women come in with birth plans. I think where I could see the value is, and in this case, it happened, but it didn't make any difference, or it made a huge difference, just not in the positive sense, that it gives an inkling, is this doctor supportive of really what somebody wants? And then for many people, unfortunately not for your client, Marie, that, they might say, okay, well then maybe I should be looking somewhere else. If they're uncomfortable with a doula and they're saying that doulas only say no, 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 no.
Well, that's a huge red flag.
Right. But in this case, the saddest part about this to me, it's so sad to me, this story, that they were so intimidated by this care provider that they made a choice that in the end, like you said, it came out fine, and they welcomed you into their home, like Melanie pointed out, but that they didn't have you there because they were afraid, and nobody should be made to feel that way ever. Like that doctor, shame on that doctor.
Yeah.
Shame on that doctor for not going, well, that's great. I hope you are happy with who you have. Or, okay, thanks for letting me know. I mean, that's what they should have said instead of, it was a bullying of them. It was an intimidation of, I don't want to, because I think you shared when you put this out there that, and you did say it also in talking to us, she did not want any kind of conflict going on during that birth. And of course not. I mean, of course not. But that was all that she could think of was, oh my God, if you're there, that means conflict. Yeah. That means conflict, which we know would have been the furthest, at least from your side, there would have been no conflict.
Right. It's just so controlling.
Yes. So.
Yeah. And I mean, that is part of the reason, to go back a little bit, that's part of the reason I had them, or I told them to show the birth plan and tell their doctor that they had a doula, mostly to see, like, who is this doctor?
Right.
Right.
Because you can say you're open-minded and then not be open-minded.
Right.
So I told them that. I said, this is more to see if you have a good fit with your doctor. It's not to say that you can control exactly how the birth comes out, but it's more to see who, if your wishes are going to be well received.
Yes.
And I do feel like he put them in a tough situation, and then they wanted me to do this thing, and it just, it spiraled out from there.
Yeah, it really did, and it's a shame. So tell me this: now that you've had this experience, what is it? Do you feel? Would you do different? Would you do the same? Moving forward, does this change how you're going to approach your next client?
Well, I told my husband, I was like, well, I am going to make people pay. Because but that way I would feel compensated for a lot of the work that I put into it, on some level. And people, I think people value what they pay for a little bit more. In this situation, I think if I had asked them to pay, I mean, they didn't have anything.
Right.
So they wouldn't have. So I don't know. In this situation, I feel I did everything that I could. Like, I did the best thing I could at the time. And going forward, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to revise maybe how I approach the birth plan with them, because it's so, I mean, I just made like categories like yes, maybe, no, and that was more for me to see like what they knew and fill in the gaps of their knowledge as far as going through this like birth plan thing with them. We're holding up basically flashcards like yes, no, maybe, that kind of thing.
Right.
And there's something
I think that's a great idea. I don't know that I would totally take that out. I think that's a good idea. But
I think instead of having it like yes, no categories, because I'm under the impression that what she did was just take a picture of it and show the picture to her doctor.
Oh,
right.
And so I think maybe that needs to be changed. Like, I need to have it prepared in a way that it doesn't look so like, no, like,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it's
not
well,
having an IV. I'm not, giving
right.
this on my
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, and that could be misinterpreted then. Yeah,
No.
because
Right.
we definitely talked about that in workshops, which is the choice of words in the writing of a birth plan is really important, that they see there's flexibility, and that, it's like, unless it's medically necessary, this is what my choices are. These are my preferences. So that there is that idea that, yes, it's not black and white. It's not a yes or no. It's a, this is what we prefer, and this is what we want. And then we'll be open to discussion as need be. So that I could see changing. But I think your card thing, like Melanie said, is a good idea. I know other doulas do that as well. They use it as a way to help organize for the clients to figure it out, what's really important to them, what would they choose to do if they can have these choices. Does this make you, I don't even know the right way to phrase it. Do you have any hesitations moving forward, I guess?
Not really.
Good.
I had a really terrible experience with my OB.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of wasn't shocked by this.
Uh-huh.
I was more, I just felt stuck more than anything else. I just felt like there's no right or wrong answer and no clear path forward. But, it all worked out in its way.
Well, it did.
And this is how you gain experience as a doula in the community that you're in. This is how you do build relationships with providers, and then you understand how some other providers work. And that's information that you can share with other, potential clients that you get in the future. Right.
If you have a client in the future who your client has this particular care provider, it's not, you're asking, how they feel about them, the whole thing, and how's your relationship, and what are you feeling about, are they on the same page with you, and all of those things. And if you're getting they are, and they're really open, it is our responsibility without, it has to be done appropriately without getting all dramatic about it. But from, other people's experiences, it seems that though they are probably a very good clinician, they are less likely to actually work with the situation that you are looking for. They're not really supportive of women having doulas at their births. And it's just something I feel, you've hired me for information. This is part of the information I need to share. And so you can make a decision on your comfort level. Just that, without saying, I don't think you should be with them, or I think you should switch. It's letting them know that they do have that option. And you can even say, if you come to a place where you're not feeling comfortable with this, we can discuss other providers who do work with, your desires, or, are fine with doulas being present and birth plans and so forth. I can give you the names of some of those people. If that's something you'd like to talk about, we will. Just so that, because people ask this question a lot, what if they're with a doctor that I just know is terrible?
Right.
And I think that's your job to tell them in that objective way. They're with a doctor who's terrible, but not saying, oh God, you're with a doctor who's terrible, but in an objective way, of that's how else will they know? And then they have to make their own choice, because we've all had the experience, including this one, that she stayed. And in the end, he wasn't terrible, but he took something away from her. He disempowered her, and he took away, you, from this experience, that you could have been such an asset to the mother, to the sister, to the partner, to the woman, to the baby, to the nurse, to the doctor, to the whole. They lost the choreographer of the experience, you know, and that's just not okay. That's just not okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
But good job, Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you so much for your story.
Yeah. And I think what it will do is I think it will touch on a lot of people's own experiences. And like you said, I think you were telling us that you have heard other care providers have said, yeah, I don't like doulas, or, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another woman said her doctor said he didn't want competition in the room.
Competition in the room.
I thought that was
Does she have a doula? Does that woman have a doula?
She has a doula, and but her doula is going to be her friend because it's the same hospital. So I guess this is kind of maybe a cultural thing. I don't know.
Well, it is something
to that hospital.
Well, there is something to consider. Not that this is your job to do, but something that you can consider or can consider with other doulas. But I really think it's the consumer also. Is being able to, the person who says, well, I'm not going to put up with that, then to make sure that the administration knows, not only the care provider knows that they're leaving, but the head of the OB, you know, of the L&D, floor, the head nurse, and the executives, like the CFO, the chief financial officer, needs to know, I'm leaving here. Or I'm leaving this practice because
this isn't available to me.
Yeah, because this isn't available. And then I think also there's a place for in-services. Yeah. Finding a labor and delivery nurse, the charge nurse, and saying, hey, can we talk about the doula situation here? And, there's been some people who feel that it's unwelcome, or that they're the moms aren't feeling like they have to lie. They have to say they have a friend. That's such a hard thing. And you made the choice, which I totally respect, to be a doula, not the friend. And this other doula is going, I have to respect that she is saying, I'm okay being the friend. I prefer that not to be the case because it won't change otherwise. Right. But yeah. Right. Anyway, I really appreciate, Marie, that you took the time to talk to us and tell us your story. And again, without sounding over and above here, I think we both think you did an excellent job. Yeah. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job, doula.
Yeah, really good. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
All the births are coming to you.
Yes.
That are not going to be like this as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, and thanks for talking to us today. Have a great day.
Thanks, Marie.
You too.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
That was interesting. And I think that, as we already said multiple times, I think Marie did I just like that she followed through with these people. And
I'm impressed.
And she didn't give them a hard time. And she easily could have said, you know what, we have a contract here. You reneged on this. And she would have been within her rights as long as she said it nicely to them. But in the end, she made a choice that also was the appropriate one. They already had the baby.
Right.
So if she had said anything different, it would have mattered not in that. So maybe her intuition was telling her all along what to do. But I just feel it's so unfortunate. As I said, this whole circumstance should never have happened.
I know. And I just keep thinking about, what if she did actually go and have this experience as the doula in the birth with this doctor who has this terrible, image of what a doula does, and she could have shifted that perspective for him.
Especially, it sounds like with her, because she sounded so lovely about how she handled everything, that he really missed
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. So anyway, anybody else have comments or thoughts about this? And have you been in this circumstance? Again, we love to hear other people's input and what you did the same, differently, or you just think that was the dumbest thing that ever happened.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah. ToRAISEquestions@gmail.com.
And so our tip today is kind of along the same lines, but opposite. I was telling Therese earlier that I had a birth just a couple of days ago with a doctor whom I had never worked with before. And it was just a really wonderful experience. I really loved how he practiced, and I wanted to follow up with him. I think it was one of the first births that he had facilitated with a doula. And so he, left giving me high fives, and, he was really impressed with the way that my apprentice and I both attended the birth. And so I want to follow up with him with a letter and, maybe lunch or something just sent to his office, just saying thank you again so much for what you do in this community. So I think, when you do have a great birth with a new provider that you haven't worked with before, I think it's really important to follow up with them.
I do too. I think it's a really good idea. And I mean, buying lunch is awesome over and above probably than is needed.
I love people with food.
Yes.
So that's always my go-to.
Well, you're a food person. I mean, that's your life, is providing food to people. People don't know that, but the Headleys do a lot of food in their life, so it would make total sense for you to do that. But a letter, if nothing else, I think is really, everybody wants to know that they did a good job, period.
Yeah.
And then also all it does is encourage the doula profession and encourages that care provider to continue to be that supportive. And so I think it's a great tip. Thanks.
Great.
Good
well, thanks
idea.
for listening, guys.
Yeah. Have a good week.